Good morning. I am Yeowon. Unfortunately, due to my schedule in Korea, I couldn't join you for the Simply Meditation retreat. I hope you all had a meaningful time of practice. With this Dharma service, I'm wrapping up my 2 years at the One Dharma Center, and we'll be moving to Los Angeles Temple. Since the One Dharma Center was my first assignment, I feel that every experience here will stay with me for a long time. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to take my first steps here at the One Dharma Center alongside Venerable Juksa님, Venerable Myongtawanim, and all ministers here. Being in a foreign country, I witnessed how the ministers here have quietly and diligently carried out their duties, overcoming many challenges in an unfamiliar environment. For them, I've learned so much about courage, dedication, and sincere devotion. And whenever I had Dharma service here, in this beautiful Dharma hall, I felt that despite our differences in religion, race, age, and life experiences, we were all meeting in the same realm of heart and mind. I always remember the warmth and kind you showed me. As I prepare for this final talk with you, I spent a lot of time thinking about what I should share. In the end, I decided to introduce a Dharma discourse that I have carried in my heart for a long time. It is the Coordinates of Life, a teaching by Cardinal Master Daesan, which you also received as a handout. I've always put these Dharma words on my wall. The word bearings could work, but coordinates more precisely captures the meaning. I first encountered this teaching nearly 10 years ago. Since then, I have faced moments in life that felt unbearable, times when I wanted to give up on myself. But each time, this teaching lifted me back up. Now I invite you, close your eyes for a moment and reflect on these questions in your heart. What shall I believe as I live my life? What shall I work for? What shall I return to? And as you look around at the world, ask yourself, what do people believe in? What do they work for? Where do they return? Now open your eyes. But have you ever wondered why Master Daesan used the mathematical concept of coordinates? For me, this expression has always stood out, unfamiliar yet striking. Coordinates are determined by setting a reference point and drawing horizontal and vertical axes to measure distances from the origin. In reality, the world has no inherent coordinates, but we create them. Marking distances as so many miles north or south, the same applies to time. Time itself has no inherent coordinates, but when we set the present as a reference point, the past and future come into existence. In other words, coordinates are something we can establish at will. Cardinal Master Taesan wanted us to deeply reflect on where we place our reference point in life. What standard we use to view the world, what we choose to believe in, where we decide to return, and what we dedicate our efforts toward. People place their coordinates in different positions, shaping their perspectives accordingly. Let me share an example. When I was in Korea, I attended a major event where I found the host to be somewhat unpolished and lacking agility. As soon as this thought arose, I caught myself and recalled my own coordinates. My reference point in my life is my vow to dedicate everything to this practice and this work alongside the founding master Sotaesan and my teachers within this great religious order and this religious order that transcends time. The moment I reminded myself of this, an image of my own teacher came to my mind. Listening intently and learning with a sincere heart, regardless of whether the speaker was less skilled or lower in position. And suddenly I was able to see the host's sincerity and effort rather than focusing on his shortcomings. Now, if my reference point had been eloquence and outward proficiency are the most important qualities, then I would have judged everything through the lenses. The host would have fallen short of that standard, and my mind would have continued to discriminate. In this way, we end up seeing entirely different words based on where we place our coordinates. Likewise, if we set truth as our reference point, we see the world differently. And if we place our coordinates in the founding motive of the teaching, the aspiration to lead all sentient beings who are drowning in the turbulent sea of suffering to a vast and immeasurable paradise, we will again perceive the world in a new light. The key questions that help us establish our reference point in life are, what shall I believe as I live my life? What shall I work for? Where shall I return to? If we live without considering these questions, simply reacting to whatever comes our way, our lives will inevitably become one of the aimless wandering. This is why Master Taesan emphasized the importance of setting a clear life perspective first. Many people place their faith in wealth and honor, work for their families, and return to their homes at the end of the day. While this is an understandable way of living, we need to go a step further and establish a more fundamental reference point, our true coordinates in life. So what are the 6 coordinates that Cardinal Master Taesan provided as guiding reference points? Can anyone say that? They are truth, teachers, Dharma, the order, the fourfold grace, ourselves. Truth, our teachers, the Dharma, the religious order, our spiritual community, the fourfold grace, and ourselves. Now, due to time constraints, let's focus on just a few of these today. First, let us believe in truth as we live. Let us work for the truth and let us return to the truth. Most people live believing in separate individual existence, seeing differences rather than unity. This is why our world is still filled with war, conflict, and suffering. But instead, we are called to believe in the oneness of truth, the oneness of the world, the unity of humanity as one family, the one word as a single shared workplace. Let us work for this truth and return to it as our ultimate refuge. Second, let us believe in our teachers, work for our teachers, and return to our teachers. My teacher in his youth served Cardinal Master Taesan with unwavering devotion. He studied diligently in Seoul, Korea, striving to contribute to Won Buddhism. Yet, whenever a school break came, he would drop everything and rush to wherever Master Taesan was. There, he would immerse himself in the Master's presence, observing his teachings before returning to his work with renewed dedication. He continued this cycle for 30 years. Likewise, no matter how busy we are with our daily lives, no matter how exhausted we feel, if we make it a point to return to our teachers and receive the nourishment of the truth, we will gradually come to resemble them. And as we grow, we will ultimately come to embody the truth itself. Next, let us believe in the religious order, work for the religious order, and return to the religious order. What is the religious order? It is the place where the Dharma is cultivated. It is a community that teaches the Dharma to all people, transforming the world for the better. Most people set their life coordinates around themselves and their families, seeking longevity and happiness for their loved ones. However, we set our coordinates in religious order. By nurturing and strengthening this community, which fosters enlightened beings, we can turn this world into a Buddha's world, spreading warmth and grace everywhere. When the world was engulfed in the devastation of World War, the founding master Sotaesan awakened the truth of Yeowon and established the religious order. His vision was to build a paradise where all sentient beings could coexist in harmony and joy. During my first time at the One Dharma Center, I saw many members here living with that mindset. If our religious order flourishes, I will flourish too. They lived with a collective spirit, prioritizing the well-being of the community. Just as a well-heated temple melts the cold from anyone who enters, a thriving religious order alleviates the suffering of all beings, allowing them to live in a paradise. Finally, let us believe in ourselves, work for ourselves, and return to ourselves. For a long time, this has been my greatest question. Why? Because I spent so many years doubting myself. Since childhood, I lived with one wish, that my family could live comfortably and happily. The problem was that in constantly looking outward, I neglected my mind. Over time, I fell into a habit of self-criticism, berating myself for every perceived shortcomings. I resented myself for not taking better care of my family and often find myself drowning in despair. So when I heard the teaching, believe in yourself, work for yourself, and return to yourself, I couldn't understand it. How can I believe in someone like me? How can I work for myself when I want to escape from who I am? And how can I possibly return to myself when I'd rather run away? What is meant by self here is the self that is united with the other five. Truth, our teachers, the Dharma, the religious order, and the fourfold grace. In other words, within us reside truth, teachers, the Dharma, religious order, and the fourfold grace. Isn't it astonishing? This is why Master Taesan repeatedly taught that the most precious and noble among these six is the self. The term self can also be described as the self-nature. It's not only the Buddha or founding Master Sotaesan who possesses the self-nature. We all have within us. Another way to say this is that we each have Buddha in our self-nature. The Buddha is not exclusive to Shakyamuni Buddha. Our own inherent Buddha is the true Buddha. This Buddha within us is brighter, wiser, and more just than any teacher in this world. And we can wholly listen and learn from this inner Buddha. If we abandon or lose hope in ourselves, and we are essentially forsaking our self-nature. Because of this self, there is truth, our teachers, the Dharma, the religious order, and the fourfold grace. Because of this self, the entire universe collaborates to sustain us. The founding Master Sotaesan didn't come to this earth for someone else, but to save you. The self is not a fixed entity. As I mentioned in my previous Dharma talk, all the notions we have about who we are, this is me, are not truly who we are. Because the self is not fixed, it can change infinitely. It holds every possibility. The most precious being in this world, possessing all potential, is the self. Even if the entire world falls apart, there is something within you that remains unmoved. Listening to my words right now, animating your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. This is a true self, the great self. Not the one tainted by desires, delusions, or attachments. My Dharma friends, this is a promise I make to myself and commitment I wish to share with you as well. Even if everyone in this world gives up on me, I will not give up on myself. Let us engrave this in our hearts and never forget it. We are often quick to abandon ourselves because we see our own shortcomings and flaws so clearly. If others also abandon and criticize us, the easiest thing to discard is our own self. People whom the word criticize may still have the potential to change. But those who give up on themselves, who sink into despair and abandon their own self, cannot change. We must trust in the self, a treasure that contains the Buddha nature, truth, our teachers, the Dharma, the religious order, and the fourfold grace. We must work for ourselves and return to ourselves, our true selves. By regularly asking ourselves with these 3 questions and establishing our 6 coordinates, we will naturally be guided toward the Ilwonsang, one circle, the ultimate destination and our rightful place to dwell. If we fully believe in these 6 coordinates, we will fully receive their benefits. If we believe only halfway, we receive halfway. And if we do not believe at all, we receive nothing. This is the eternal path to salvation and gratitude. So in this voyage of life, where are you setting your coordinates? What are the reference points guiding your journey? I use this teaching as my compass. Even if I occasionally lose my way, it keeps directing me toward these 6 coordinates. When I find myself disheartened or falling into darkness, the clarity of where I stand and where I need to go prevents me from being consumed by it. Though we may part ways and find ourselves in different places, by setting these coordinates together, we will ultimately meet again in the great realm of Yeowon, the original home of the universe. I'm deeply grateful for all your kindness and support. May you all remain in good health, both in body and mind. And if you come to LA, make sure to visit the LA temple. With this, I conclude my last Dharma talk. Thank you.